This is Laura Duncan from CSMS. Today we will be writing the equation of lines in all forms, slope, intercept, standard, and point slope form. So beginning with number 1, what are we given? Since we're given a slope of -1/2, that means m equals -1/2. And then we have this point. The line passes through this point, -4, 1. That's an x and a y. So that really lends itself to point slope form. So if the slope is 1/2 and the point is -4, 1, then we'll begin with point slope form, where we have y minus y1 equals the slope times open parentheses x minus x1. So remember, this is our point, -4, 1. So let's substitute our point into the equation. Y minus y1, which is 1, equals the slope, which was -1/2, times x minus x1. Now let's clean that up a little bit. What I mean is simplify any minus and negative that you have. So instead of x minus -4, that would be more simple as x plus 4. So now we have our point slope form. Now try to hold on to yourself. If you want to distribute that -1/2, that will lead us to somewhere else. So let's take this point slope form and then change it into slope intercept form. Let's copy that again. So why did we copy it? Well, we want to get the slope intercept form here, which is y equals mx plus b. We are given point slope form, and if we simply isolate the y, then we will be in slope intercept form. So let's start by distributing. Y minus 1 equals -1/2 x minus 2. Let's continue isolating the y. This will cancel out, so we'll have y equals -1/2 x minus 1. Now we are in slope intercept form. From slope intercept form, we will go to standard form. So rewrite the slope intercept form of the equation now. Now let's remind ourselves of standard form. It's ax plus by equals c. So we'll need to have the x and the y on the same side of the equation. So I'm going to add 1/2 x to each side. I did this a little backwards, a little differently than we've done in the past, because there's one thing that I did not do that I should have done. What was it? Well, we have a fraction as our coefficient. That's a no-no. So you could have begun by multiplying each term by the LCD, the least common denominator, which is 2. So let me go back and do that now. So remember to multiply this by each term so that we don't change the value of the equation. Now that we have no fractions, our x is positive, we have our standard form of the equation. All right, good job on number 1. Let's go on to number 2. We have a horizontal line through -2, 8. When you see horizontal line, I want you to think hoi. It's a horizontal line. It will have a 0 slope, but it will be a y equals equation, and that's what we need to use here. So what will y equal? Well, for our slope intercept form, let's take a look. Remember, this is our x value, this is our y. So every y will have the value of 8. That will be our slope intercept form, and let's just make it easy. Each of these, written most simply, will be y equals 8. That's a special case. We have another special case coming up on number 3, a vertical line through -8, 2. So when you think vertical, I want you to think VUX, a vertical line with an undefined slope, and it's going to be an x-equal equation. Well, what does x equal? X equals, let's go back to our point given. X equals -8. And we gotta love these. This is so easy. So on each of these forms, we're going to simply put x equals 8 for this special case. Let's look at number 4. Number 4, they give us 2 points. So we know when we're doing slope-intercept, standard, and point-slope form, we need a slope. How do we find the slope between these 2 points? To find the slope, we are going to use the slope formula. So the slope formula equals y2 minus y1, that's the change in y, over x2 minus x1. Some students find it very helpful to label their points, so I will do that now. Now we substitute it and solve. So y2 is 2, y1 is 6, 2 minus 6, x2 is -3, minus x1, which is 3. We will simplify that at this time. 2 minus 6 is -4 over -6. And let's simplify that to 2/3. So the slope is equal to 2/3. I want to remind you that you may use your stat function on your calculator. However, at this time, what do we have right now? We have a slope, and we were given points over here. That lends itself to point-slope form. I would like to use the point 3, 6 for my point-slope form. Let's remind ourselves of what point-slope form looks like. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And let's substitute what we know. So y minus 6, I chose that point because they're both positives, equals 2/3 x minus 3. All right, it looks good. Now where do we go? We have point slope, and we know that point slope can be manipulated into slope-intercept. So copy that down at this time. Copy down your point-slope formula. Y minus 6 equals 2/3 x minus 3. So how can we manipulate the slope, point-slope form? We know that our goal is y equals mx plus b, where the y is isolated. So we'll begin with the distributive property. Y minus 6 equals 2/3 x minus 2. Now we further isolate the y. We'll add 6 to each side. This will cancel out, and we'll have y equals 2/3 x plus 4. Now let's take that equation, rewrite it in standard. This time I'm going to remember to get rid of that denominator first. Remember our goal, ax plus by equals c. So let's take a look at this denominator of 3. The least common denominator would be 3. So we'll multiply each term by 3. So that gives us 3y equals 2x plus 12. Notice in standard, the x's are on the same side as the y, so I will subtract 2x from each side, and I'm going to rearrange this so that 2x comes first. Now I'm almost there. I just have to make sure that my a value is positive, so I will multiply each term by -1. All right, we have a match. Now we're in standard form. Now look back at all that lovely work. That is your lovely math work that we are expecting to see. Let's look at number 5. On number 5, we're not given a slope. We're given a y-intercept and an x-intercept. I think this is one of the most challenging ones because some students get caught and they don't remember that these are 2 points. Our y-intercept is the point 0, -2, and the x-intercept is 6, 0. So where does that leave us? We must start with the slope. So let's go ahead and label our points. And we will use the slope formula. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Let's substitute those in. We'll have 0 minus -2, the change in y over the change in x, 6 minus 0. That would simplify to 2 over 6, which would simplify to 1/3. Now what do we have? We have an m, a slope. Do we have a b? If we have an m and a b, that leads us to slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So we need an m and we need a b. Let's substitute what we know. Y equals, our slope was 1/3 x, and then what's our b? Our b is the y-intercept, -2 up there. So our sloped intercept form would be y equals 1/3 x minus 2. Let's take that slope-intercept form and manipulate it into standard form. First, let's deal with that denominator. It's a 3, so we will multiply each term by 3. I'm going to write just x. Now we will remind ourselves that standard form is ax plus by equals c. So I want the x on the same side as the y. Let me rearrange that to have -x plus 3y equals -6. Don't drop that negative. But since my x is negative, traditionally that is positive. We will multiply each term by -1. And we'll end up with x minus 3y equals 6. Lastly, we have our point slope form. Now, you can see we could have done these in any order once we have gotten our slope. So you could have come over here to your point slope form. Let's remind yourselves what that looks like. So we have our slope. Our slope is 1/3. But what point do we want to use? It really doesn't matter. You could use either point. I'm going to use the x-intercept of 6, 0. So we'll have y minus 0 equals our slope of 1/3, open parentheses, x minus 6. You may be tempted to simplify this. Don't do it. It's perfectly fine because it is in point-slope form at this time. Now, last question. What makes a function proportional? Please pause the video here. So here's a reminder that a proportional function is a straight line that goes through the origin. It goes through the point 0, 0. That means that instead of y equals mx plus b, the b will be 0. So the equation would look like y equals mx. I hope to discuss this more tomorrow with you, and the lesson is yours.